Good morning, children. Welcome back to the lesson Weathering the Storm in Ersama. The other day, we just began the lesson with an introduction and a detail about the cyclone that hit Orissa in October 1999 that killed thousands of people and devastated hundreds of villages. Okay, and Prashant, the hero of the story, a 19-year-old boy, okay, uh, who was at his friend's house at the time of cyclone, decided to head towards his village to see whether his family members are surviving the super cyclone. Okay, and we also discussed about the speed of that wind, that is 350 kilometer per hour, and damage caused by the wind, like it uprooted many trees, killed many animals, killed many people, and Prashant and his friends family members could see human dead bodies and animal dead bodies were floating in all directions. Okay, and the blessing in disguise, that two coconut trees that had fallen on the roof, that helped them to survive without getting starved for several days. And finally Prashant decided to head towards his village to find out his family members. Okay, there we stopped. Now we are at page number 38. All of you open your text at page number 38. Yeah, children, now we are at page number 38, right? He equipped himself with a long sturdy stick and then started on his 18 kilometer expedition. 18 kilometers expedition back to his village through the sullen flood waters. It was a journey he would never forget. He constantly had to use his stick to locate the road, to determine where the water was most shallow. At places it was waist deep and progress was slow. At several points he lost the road and had to swim. After some distance he was relieved to find two friends of his uncle who were also returning to their village. They decided to move ahead together. Okay, children, now what is the scene? The boy, a 19-year-old boy, a 19-year-old boy equipped. What is equipped? Prepared. Prepared himself with a long sturdy stick. What is sturdy? Strong stick. Started his, what is the number of kilometers of the journey? 18 kilometers, 18. Expedition. What is expedition? Journey with an intention. Expedition means journey with an intention. You can mark down. Expedition means journey with an intention or purpose. Okay. Equipped. What's the meaning? Prepared. What did he prepare with? With a stick. Okay. And what is the number of kilometers that he has to travel? 18 kilometers towards his village. Okay, and he is passing through the sullen flood waters. Okay, what is the water there? Flood water. It was a journey he would never forget. He continuously had to use the stick to locate the road, because sometimes there can be a well. He may go into the well. In the water you cannot identify. So he is locating whether he is on the road or out of the road by just feeling with the long stick, and to determine whether the water is shallow. Shallow means not deep. Deep opposite shallow. Deep opposite shallow, or shallow opposite deep. Okay, in some areas it is not deep, that means shallow. At places it was waist deep, up to the waist. And progress of walking will be slow. You cannot walk. Those who have experience can understand well. When you are in water, you cannot walk. fast. At several points, he lost the road, and had to swim. He had to swim. After some distance, he was relieved. How was he relieved? To find two of his friend's uncle who were also returning to their village. They decide to move ahead together. Okay, so finally they decide to go together. He got company. As they waded through, what is waded through? Walk through water. Wade means walk through water. Waded through the water, the scenes they witnessed grew more and more macabre. Macabre means unpleasant. Macabre. Unpleasant. They had to push away many human bodies, men, women, children, carcasses, dogs, goats, cattle, and the current swept against them as they moved ahead. So Prashant, that 19-year-old boy, and two other uncles, they could see dead bodies floating near to them. Dead bodies of animals, dead bodies of human beings. Among humans, men, women, children, you see. Can you imagine that you are moving through water and many dead bodies are passing by, floating to you, near to you? See the courage of the boy. In every village that they passed, they could barely see a house standing. Okay, when they were passing through the water, they could not find any house in standing condition, means erect position. Prashant now wept out loud and long. He was crying loudly, seeing the condition of the village, and the people and animals died. He was sure that his family could not have survived this catastrophe. So he decided that his family members might have been killed in that cyclone, in that catastrophe, means great destruction. Great destruction, catastrophe. So nobody could survive in that catastrophe. Okay. Eventually Prashant reached his village. Finally Prashant reached his village. What is the name of his village? Kalikuda. You can write down. Underline, just underline. What is the name of Prashant's village? Kalikuda. His heart went cold. Where their home once stood, there were only remnants. What is remnants? Remaining part of its roof. Remaining part. Remnants means remaining part. House is not there. Only some part of the roof could be seen. Some of their belongings were caught, mangled. What is mangled? Twisted. Mangled and twisted in the branches of trees just visible above the water. Dark waters. Young Prashant decided to go to the Red Cross shelter to look for the family. So when he reached the place where his house was standing once, now he could not find his house there. So he decided to go to the Red Cross shelter. Okay. Among the first people he saw in the crowd was his maternal grandmother. So when he reached the Red Cross shelter, who did he see first? His maternal grandmother. What is maternal? Of mother. Paternal of father. So maternal opposite paternal. Paternal. So mother's grandmother. Okay. Who did he see first? Mother's grandmother. Weak with hunger. That old lady was already weak, old. Now weak with hunger, no food. She rushed to him. She ran towards him, her hands outstretched. My son, her eyes brimming, means overflowing, brimming with tears. It was miracle. They had long given him up for dead. And his family members thought that Prashant was dead and gone in the cyclone. So when they could see Prashant, their eyes started overflowing with happiness here. It was a miracle for them to see Prashant. So that lady came to hug him. Quickly word spread. Quickly the message went to everybody. Prashant has come back. Quickly the word spread and his extended family gathered around him. All other family members gathered and hugged him. What is hugged? Embraced him. Tight in relief, Prashant anxiously scanned the motley, battered group. His brother, sister, uncle, aunts, all were there, it seems. So nobody was missing. All were there. Okay. So here's a difficult word for you. Motley. What is the word? Motley. What do you mean by motley? What is motley? Disparate, varied in appearance or character. Word meaning is given at page number 42. You can go for it. Disparate means varied in appearance or character. Different types of people and different dress code. They came to meet Prashant. Battered group. What is battered? Tired. Battered means tired. And his brother, sister, uncles, aunts all came there. Okay. Now we'll continue. By the next morning, as he took in the desperate situation, okay, desperate means here unhappy situation in the shelter, he decided to get a grip over himself. He sensed a deathly grief setting upon the 2,500 strong crowd in the shelter. So what is the strength of the people in the shelter? 2,500. What is their condition? They are all very desperate, disappointed, and deathly grief. Grief means sorrow. They were all in great sorrow. They lost their houses. They lost their village. They lost everything. So they were all desperate. 86 lives were lost in the village. So how many people were killed in that super cyclone? 86. 86 people died. And 96 houses had been washed away. How many houses did they lose? 96. 6. So 96 houses. How many people? 86 people. And it was their 4th day at the shelter. So how long have they been there? 4th day. So far they had survived on green coconuts. Like Prashant had green coconut where? At his friend's house. The same way these people also lived on coconuts, but there were too few to go around such a tumult of people, confusion of people, uproar of people. Meaning is given. What is the meaning of tumult? Uproar. Meaning is given at page number 42. Tumult means uproar of a disorderly crowd. Means commotion, all are making noise, that tumult. Okay, uproar. So you can understand, you can just visualize the scene. Okay, now Prashant, all of 19 years. So now it is disclosed what is the age of Prashant? 19 years. So there can be short answer question, objective type question. What is the age of Prashant? They will give 18, 17, 19. And if you are very, very clear, you can write the answer correctly. 19 years. I write here 19. So Prashant of all 19 years decided to step in as leader of his village if no one else did. So he said, I would act as a leader if nobody is ready. And he started. He organized a group of youth and elders to jointly pressurize the merchants once again to part with his rice. So they decided to go to merchant. Merchants will be there in a village. So what should the merchants do? They should part with. What is part with? Give. They should give the rice. This time the delegation means the group succeeded. The group succeeded and returned triumphantly. What is triumphantly? Successfully. Triumphantly wading through water means walking through water. Receding water. What is receding means? That is going back. Withdrawing water with food for the entire shelter. No one cared that the rice was already rotting. Actually, rotting means decaying. Rotting. Giving smell. What is giving smell? The rice is giving smell, decaying, rotting, but branches from fallen trees were gathered to light a reluctant. What is reluctant? Unwilling. Reluctant means unwilling and slow fire, because you cannot make fire easily there. Why? Because everything is wet. Everything is wet, but somehow they made fire on which to cook the rice. For the first time in 4 days, the survivor at the cyclone shelter were able to fill their bellies. So how many days it took for them to have food? 4 days. And who provided food for them? Prashant and a group of youth. How did they get the rice? From the merchant. They pressurized, means compelled the merchants to give. And what is the condition of the rice? Is it a good rice? No, it is giving stingy means it is giving smell, rotting. But they prepared, okay, and filled their bellies. What is belly? Stomachs. His next task was to organize a team of youth volunteers to clean the shelter. So next task, what is the first task taken by Prashant? Organizing food for all the victims. Second task, organizing a youth volunteers to clean the shelter, because many of them are passing urine there only. Filth means dirt, urine, vomit, and floating carcasses, and sometimes carcasses coming to that place, and to tend to the wounds and fractures of many who had been injured. Okay, so what did he do? Yes, that filth. Okay, what is the second task? Cleaning the shelter. What is the shelter? What is the condition of the shelter? It was filthy, urine, vomit, floating of carcass, and all this. And not only that, to tend the wounds of the people who had fracture. Okay, so these are things that Prashant did. On the okay, I think better we stop here. Yeah, so dear children, now we just make a review of what we have learned today. Today we started with the boy who decided to reach his village to find his family members, whether they are surviving the super cyclone. And for that he equipped himself, prepared himself with a long stick. Why? Because everywhere water is there, and the number of kilometers that he has to travel is 18 kilometers. That was a big expedition for him. And on the way he could see two of his friends' uncles, and they decided to move together, and he used the stick to measure the depth of water, whether it is shallow, whether it is deep. And Prashant and that two uncles could see many dead bodies. It's actually, the scene was very macabre, unpleasant, with dead bodies floating, children, women, dead bodies of men, women, children, all were floating on the surface of water. And it is a serious view for them, and Prashant did not witness such a scene in his lifetime. And eventually he reached, finally, eventually means finally, he reached his village, that is Kalikuda, but his heart went cold. Why? Because he could not find his house there. But what could he see there? He could see the mangled, twisted branches of trees and some of the remnants of the roof. And finally Prashant decided to go to the Red Cross shelter. And who did he meet there first? His maternal grandmother. Why was it a miracle for grandmother? Because they thought that Prashant had been killed in the super cyclone. And it is a miracle for Prashant as well, because Prashant thought his family members all got killed in the cyclone. So quickly the news spread to others, and everybody came there to hug him. Okay, but Prashant could see that 2,500 people are not in good health. They were all facing deathly grief. So immediately he came to know that 86 people lost their life and 96 houses had been washed away, and they were all eating on coconuts. Okay, then Prashant decided to become a leader. A 19-year-old boy decided to become a leader, and he organized a group of youth and elders to jointly pressurize the merchants to give food, rice, and they got the rice and cooked it using reluctant fire. Okay, and for the first time after 4 days, all the refugees got their stomachs filled with rice. And the next task that was organized or taken up by Prashant was to clean the shelter of filth, urine, vomit, and floating carcasses, and also to tend the wounds of the refugees who had fractures. Okay, here we stop, dear children. Now we will continue with the lesson tomorrow. Read the text, write down the important words, write down the question and the answers. Okay, we shall meet again tomorrow with the third session. Okay, thank you children, have a nice day ahead.